So we finally had to send our Luba back to Mammotion for warranty work. For those of you who are not caught up on what we've been going through here, we bought this early last year. I think I got it in March of 2024. We put over 1,000 hours and 1,000 miles on this in the first season, and we had a couple of small issues, nothing that really kept the mower from doing its job, but we finally kind of got to a point where I couldn't keep using him, definitely not for this upcoming rainy season in the state that he was in. So this is the Luba 2 10,000, the best one, or at least the one that had the most coverage area that they offered last year. I don't know about the new ones, the X's that they just came out with, but that's the one I'm working with. So you can go back and watch the other videos if you kind of want to see the rundown, what was good, what was bad. This video is more about what the warranty and repair process was like for me, and then we're going to see if they actually fixed it. I haven't opened the box yet. It was 8 days ago, I sent this to California to be repaired, and that was over, those 8 days included a weekend, so technically 6 business days from when it left my possession to when I got it back, which I was actually pleasantly surprised with. I thought it was going to be weeks, and I was really kind of worried about it because it's time to start cutting grass, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have this back in time. So the customer service part of it was really easy. I used the app to contact tech support, told them what was going on, and they sent me a shipping label and instructions. Instructions are basically put it back in its original box. So if you're going to buy one of these, I encourage you to keep it. Not that you can't send it back in a different box, but it really makes it easy if you keep the styrofoam and stuff in there. It just kind of goes back. The only downside is you have to take the bumper back off, the camera back off, but that's just a few screws. They also ask that you clean your Luba before you return it, and that was the first time I'd cleaned it last week. So here's the bumper. Doesn't look like they ever, that's dirt. Doesn't look like they ever took it out of the package, so I guess they didn't need that. Probably need to put some contact cleaner on those bits. And we will save this again. So let's go over what was wrong with it. So in the last video I made, I think I disclosed, yeah, I definitely did, that the deck height quit working. It wasn't a deal breaker for me because I was able to make it work at the 2.8 inch cut height prior to it getting damaged or broken. I cut at 1 inch or 1.8, I can't remember. So I did have to make some concessions to my mowing style, which wasn't the end of the world, just the camera. But that's not why I called them and sent this back, although it was warranted and it was probably worth doing to begin with. That's not what it was. Oh, mostly white. The reason that I finally sent it back in was because the weekend before last, I was getting this machine ready to do some mowing again, and it wouldn't charge. Let me show you why. The contacts, these charging contacts, this side was what I believe from others on the Facebook group, that had melted, and this became recessed in the back of the mower. So when it backed up to the charging station, it couldn't make contact with the 2 pins. This one would touch, but this one wouldn't. And so it just wouldn't charge. And looks like they did a pretty good job fixing it. It almost looks like they put larger contacts in there. Maybe not, but this looks super clean, way cleaner than I sent it. So that part of the repair actually looks pretty good. Let's turn it over and see how the underside looks. Well, at first glance, it looks exactly the same. So there are no witness marks or evidence here that anything was done to the deck height. like there's clearly and obviously a repair done here. But hopefully that's all done underneath. But if we look here, it doesn't appear that those bolts have received a tool. This one definitely hasn't because it's still full of dirt. I'm not going to be super happy if they didn't fix the deck adjustment. I suppose it's possible they could, if they took the cover off to do this repair, they fixed it from the top. I don't know, so we'll find out. One thing to note back here, some feedback that I got from the Facebook group is that this might have happened, this melting here, because I left it on the charger for so long. Like, I didn't overwinter it in the garage. I just left it on the charger. But if that becomes a problem when it's not under warranty a year from now, I will probably do better to bring this in. So that's something to keep in mind. Real quick, I'm gonna put the bumper, the discs, and the camera back on. I'm gonna put it on the charger. It's dark outside, so I probably won't show you that. I'll come back in the morning once we try to fire it up, once it's on a full charge. And we'll see if they fix this up or not. All right, we're all back together. That just took 10 minutes or so. Everything just goes back on the way it came. The way it came off, rather. I will say my cutting discs, I'm using the aftermarket 3D printed ones. They seem a little warped, but I'm not gonna address that now. We gotta get some cutting time down before all this rain comes in. I did wanna mention one thing. You'll notice I told you I cleaned this for the first time, well, 10 days ago or so. Let me warn you, don't try to clean your plastic Luba with brake cleaner. I know better, but I'm just a dang old hillbilly, and that's just my first instinct is get the brake cleaner. And it immediately started to eat this plastic. And when I tried to wipe it off with a purple microfiber cloth, it leached the purple dye as well as the texture of the rag into the body of little old Julio here. And it also impregnated what dirt was in contact with the plastic at the time. So don't do that. Warm soapy water would have been just fine. And it wouldn't have just eaten all this plastic. But it should still be functional. We're gonna take her to the base, see if she'll charge. He will charge. I know it's dark, but trust me when I tell you that thing immediately came to life. I used to have to kind of fight it, wiggle it back and forth, try to get it just right, just to do what it's doing now. So it seems promising. We'll come back in the morning, make sure it's charged, and then see if we can adjust this deck. Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. So this morning I was really wanting to fire it up. I did see that it did charge overnight. It did actually take a little finagling. That may be on my end. I think I need to get the base a little bit more level. So I'm gonna work on that, but it did charge, which was problem number one. I wanted to cut to make sure that the deck height adjustment would work. However, you can see here, the mower is not where it thinks it is. The mower is actually on the base station. Could not get it to connect to the RTK. I rebinded it and I tried and tried. I spent probably an hour and a half out there just doing anything I could think of to make it work, and it would not connect. So I did go to tech support this morning, live chat, and I let them know what was going on. Of course, I got a very quick response, less than a minute. Of course, it's the automated response. I went through these steps, nothing helped. I showed what I was working with. And then within 3 minutes, he says, please hold while we connect you with one of our specialists. Okay. So I sent some more information because the instructions said send pictures, what you're looking at. Then I told it what I'm trying. I waited for 25 minutes for him to respond, nothing. Well, now 6 hours later, I asked, are we still getting a specialist? So I've been waiting, 6 hours to get some feedback, and I've done the best I can with what I know, which isn't much. But I haven't had this problem before. So all this to say, Customer service was great on the front end of this repair, and I'm not saying that they're not great now, but 6 hours to get help is not great. So this is just an update. I figured I would try to connect to it from the shop here and see what we got going on, and it's still the same issue. So I didn't know if maybe it just needed some time to connect, power cycled everything, shut everything off, turned it back on, you know, the typical technician support kind of stuff. Turn it off, turn it back on. Well, that didn't work this time. So here we are. When I get back to the house this afternoon, I'm gonna mess with it some more, and hopefully I get some feedback, but it's where we're at. Not great. So didn't have a great time with this. It is the second day, almost a full 48 hours since I started the video and got the mower unpacked. Yesterday was the day that I reached out to Mammotion in the morning and got no feedback whatsoever. Now it is the day after that, so in the evening, getting dark, and I think I finally got Julio back in operation. I did what I was afraid I was going to have to do, and that was completely factory reset the unit, which means remaking all of my task areas, which was, like I said, the last thing I wanted to do. I never heard back from tech support. I've got to get him cutting today. The grass is growing quick. So I just bit the bullet and reset everything. So he's about to start cutting. I think that did solve my binding to the RTK issue that I was having. The main problem was I just could not get Julio to locate himself on my property for whatever reason, but the factory reset and just starting completely over seemed to do it. Now, it's not a big deal. I had to redo the task areas. A few areas did need a little finessing. If you're new to this, you'll learn your first task area is probably not going to be perfect. You may have to do it a couple times. So I don't know what he's waiting for. I guess he wants to start over there. That's kind of random. So I'll be back in a second. We still have to test the deck height adjustment. I've got him set to 2 inches, which is where I like it to be cut. I'll wait till he gets started and we'll confirm. All right, so he's cutting. I don't know why he picked that the most random spot in the world to start. And I don't know why he didn't start with the perimeter. I might have accidentally deselected perimeter mow, but it is what it is. So he's cutting. You can see he's cutting at 2.0 inch height. Let's change it to 1.6. See if it goes down. See, used to. The height has been adjusted. Thank goodness. Go back to 2. Man, I haven't seen that in a while. All right, good job, Mammotion. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. So although the after warranty sales tech support has been lackluster at best, I will say they did quickly and conveniently and properly take care of the warranty work that I asked them to do. So now Julio's gonna get back to work. Hope this is helpful. Thanks for watching.